Good evening and welcome to this March 4th Planning Commission meeting at Carnegie Town Hall. Hopefully everybody made it here a little warmer than when they left. We'd like to call the meeting to order and start by approving the consent agenda items. Denise, if you could please read those.
Pardon me, Madam Chair, is there an informational item this evening?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. On the consent agenda, item 1 is approval of the February 4th, 2015 minutes of regular meeting. Item 2 is February plats. Item 3, 22-23-2015 rezone from RS Single Family Residential Suburban District to the RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District for allowed forms located south of West 26th Street and west of South Katy Avenue. Item 4, 2286-2015 rezone RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional Districts to RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District for allowed forms located at 633 West 10th Street. Item 5, 2287-2015 rezone from RD1 Twin Home Duplex Residential Suburban District to RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District for allowed forms located at 3204 South West Avenue. Item 6, 2292-2015 rezone from AG Agricultural District to the RS Single Family Residential Suburban, RD2 Townhome Residential Suburban, RA2 Apartment Residential Low Density and C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar Districts for allowed forms located north of East 41st Street and west of 6 Mile Road. Item 7, 2298-2015 rezone from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the C3 Commercial Community District for allowed forms located at the southwest corner of East 41st Street and South Sycamore Avenue. Item 8, 2201-2015 preliminary subdivision plan for Stone Point at 57th Edition, located south of East 57th Street and east of South Lewis Avenue. Item 9, 2247-2015 preliminary subdivision plan for Hidden Meadows 2nd Edition, located east of North Cliff Avenue and north of East 1st Street. Item 10, 2276-2015 preliminary subdivision plan for Copper Creek Estates Edition, located at the southwest corner of East 26th Street and South 6 Mile Road. Item 11, 2288-2015 preliminary subdivision plan, Copper Creek Heights Edition, located north of East 41st Street and west of South 6 Mile Road.
Thank you, Denise. Are there any objections from anyone in the audience on any of these items? Please come forward and state your name.
Brenda Lawrence, would be item 4.
Item number 4?
Yeah.
Okay. You'd like that moved to the regular agenda
Yes.
for discussion? Okay.
Madam Chairman, there are several here.
Please come forward.
I believe there are several people here to address item number 7.
Okay. I'd like that moved to the regular agenda as well. All right. Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Are there any objections from any commissioners? All right. So we'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, now we'll make a motion to amend the consent agenda, moving item number 4 and item number 7 to the regular agenda.
I'll make.
Second.
So moved.
All right, now we'll vote on the amended items. I need a motion to approve.
Nope. We have that.
Have that.
You already have
All in favor?
the vote.
All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed? Same sign. All right, motion passes. Now I need a vote to approve the items as amended. All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 All right, opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Now I need a motion to approve the regular agenda.
So moved.
And a second? All right, all in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Same sign. All right, motion passes.
Item 4, 2286, 2015, rezone from RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District to the RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District for allowed forms located at 633 West 10th Street.
Jason Bieber with Planning and Building Services. This is an application by Wayne Wagner for Affordable Housing Solutions. The purpose is to construct an affordable housing multifamily residential building on the currently vacant lot. The applicant is proposing to rezone roughly 0.28 acres from the RT2 Townhome Residential Traditional District to the RA1 Apartment Residential Low Density District. And Affordable Housing Solutions is looking at constructing an 8-unit affordable housing apartment complex with associated parking lots. The proposed zoning does meet the Sioux Falls comprehensive plan. The parcel is located within a redevelopment area. The existing RT2 zoning does allow for up to 8-unit attached townhomes. The applicant is proposing to construct the same number of units, 8 units, but they would be more apartment style with 4 on the first floor and 4 on the second floor instead of 8 separate units attached together. Finally, the required level A buffer yard on the south side should provide the necessary buffering from the proposed 8-unit multifamily apartment use to the existing single-family residential use on the south. And because the subject application is consistent with the Sioux Falls comprehensive plan, staff does recommend approval of the rezoning. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thanks, Jason. Any questions for staff?
Madam Chair? Jason, can you define a level A buffer yard for us?
Level A buffer yard would be a 10-foot setback and then a 2-foot berm or I believe a 4-foot fence.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks. Is the applicant here? Please come forward and state your name and address.
Good evening. Wayne Wagner, Housing Development Director for Affordable Housing Solutions, 630 South Minnesota Avenue. Happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
So Wayne, this is an empty lot. I drive by this every single day, a couple times a day.
Okay.
So it looks like these are all 1-bedroom apartment units?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any questions about redevelopment of the site, or?
It's property we've acquired over the years. They've been larger homes that have been subdivided into apartments, and my understanding is there was either 10 or 11 units in the combined 3 houses that were removed, and we're basically replacing it with 8 units. We're doing it, we're going, actually we've hired Coke Hazard as the architect firm, and they're subcontracting the engineering through West Plains Engineering. So this is not a development or a project we're doing on a napkin. We're really thinking it out and looking into some innovative ways to fit into the neighborhood, but also kind of add some affordable housing opportunities there.
And Wayne, you retain ownership of these units?
Yes, we do, and we will manage them, lease, manage, and do background checks, et cetera, through the Sioux Falls Housing Authority, which is our leasing agent.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address item number 4? Please come forward. You would state your name and address, please.
Brenda Lawrence. I live at 216 South Summit Avenue. I would be living just south of this apartment complex that's going to be going up.
And if you could maybe just step a little closer. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? Part of the problem is with this going up is there's probably not going to be enough parking. And as of now on our street, there's 2 duplexes, 1 fourplex, and then there's another house, well, 2 houses at the end of the corner. I don't know how many apartment complexes are in there. So right now, if I have somebody come over, it's hard for them to find parking. So if we're going to build an 8-unit and there's enough room for 8 people to park, where are those people going to park now that if they have visitors or people are staying with them? Because I've noticed that with low income where I live, there's other people that will move into these apartments even though they're not supposed to. So now we're going to have more cars, and I mean, who are the low-income people going to be moving in there? Are they going to be elderly, disabled, or, I mean, it's not going to be families that are moving in there, so I don't know who's going to be moving in, and I'd like to know about that, too.
All right.
So,
All right, thank you. We'll bring the applicant back up to hopefully answer some of those questions.
okay.
And I believe there's one other person that would like to address this item.
Yeah, I'm Francis there, and I own the apartments right to the east of them, and I got like a 7-plex, and I know the big issue will be for sure parking because there's none out in front on 10th Street the way there is. There's only probably 4 parallel parking, and then basically I guess it shows that, I don't know, but I think the parking is going to be 4 parking lot on the south side of this unit, and like I said, that I don't think it's going to be near enough when there's eight tenants going to be living there anyhow, I guess, not counting the people that's going to move in there and that kind of stuff. I was wondering if it was going to be a split foyer or if they're going to be like 2 stories above, if there's going to be a basement underneath there. And also the privacy fence, most of them, when I lived there before then, when we bought them, when they had the 2 houses, and then there was a 4-plex, I believe, there, and people were walking through my yard constantly all the time and that kind of stuff, and I'm sure that'll, it's been pretty nice empty. It was a disaster with the houses there, but I'd like it the way it is, I guess, basically. But.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Excuse me, I have a question for you.
Sorry.
Can you come back here? So you say you own the apartments to the east?
Yes.
And how many tenants do you have in your unit, sir?
There are 7 units there.
7 units. And how many parking spaces do you have?
I've got a 4-car stall, garage, and then 3 outside there. So I got seven parking deals there.
On your property?
Yeah.
And the rest is off-street parking then?
Yeah, there's, like I said, I think there's 4 parallel in front on the north side of mine right off of 10th Street.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Oh, one more person.
Good evening. I'm Susan Randall, and I live at 500 South Grange Avenue. I'm a member of the Pettigrew Heights Neighborhood Association. I'm not here to speak on behalf of the association. We don't take official positions on matters like this. But I did want you to know that in the plan for our neighborhood area, this is a redevelopment direction that's really consistent with what we've been hoping we'd see in our neighborhood. Much of Pettigrew Heights is single-family residential, and we hope to keep it that way. But on the corridor of 10th and 11th Streets, which are more heavily trafficked and more dense, we think this low-density multi-unit kind of direction is a good way to go. I was pleased to see that there is an active plan for redevelopment, because I know it's been undeveloped and bare for a while. So, and we also know there's a huge need for affordable housing in our area. And since it is a gateway to downtown Sioux Falls, it's just a perfect place to be focusing on residential, multi-unit, low density. So we applaud it.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? All right. Would the applicant please come forward? maybe you can help us out with the few questions that were asked here.
Yeah, I think I've got a few of them that I can, if I miss one, let me know. Our target here actually is we agree that it's on a busy corridor, so it's not really intended for families. It's a single bedroom unit, which we anticipate single individuals living in. It could be up to 2 people. The main floor units are actually two of the 4 main floor units will be fully ADA accessible. They're roll-in, which is not very common, so they'll be, and we're working on integrating in-floor heat in both the lower and the upper level, which is really good for both older residents and people with disabilities. So we're anticipating that the 4 lower units be people with either no mobility or limited mobility. But so that's really who we're targeting is individuals, and that's who we see fitting in here. The units will be have a little bit upgraded look and feel to them. Part of our investment with Coke Hazard is to create a style and look where it's affordable to build, but it'll look more like what I'll call a market rate property. So we're working to get tenants in there early and have them stay longer so they become part of the community. We'll have porches, and upstairs they'll have little balconies to create more of a community feel. We want the residents to become part of the community, not just be a part that's carved out there. So that's kind of who our target is. Parking came up a couple times. We'll definitely need to fit in with the requirements of the City of Sioux Falls. For off-street parking. We won't have the luxury of units that were built years ago of counting on the city streets for parking, but when it's done in a final state, it'll have the required parking that's required by the City of Sioux Falls. What we're anticipating, the shape of the building is it's basically a stack. You'll have 4 units on the bottom. When you look at them, it'd be pictured kind of a row house look where it'll look like the bottom and the upper is actually the same unit, even though the upstairs will exit out into the east side. So it'll look like 4 townhomes that are 2-story. That'll kind of be the appearance from the front. We haven't settled on the roof section yet. We're working on the energy efficiency elements of it as far as how we're going to insulate it and such. So we're not quite to that point on the design. So that's kind of the look and feel. We definitely are moving away from what a trend has been in the area as far as having more of a industrial type look of a building. This will be the colors, the textures on the outside, the windows, the treatments on it will be much more like a house you would have seen built there maybe 40, 50 years ago. So that's kind of the look and feel we're going for there. I'm trying to think of what else was addressed.
Can you address maybe that buffer yard? What do you intend to have a berm or a fence, or what are your
We
thoughts
anticipate needing to do a little bit extra and more than really what's required there. We're looking at bushes, maybe an elevated, rather than a berm, but maybe a wall on the property line, raising it up to give some instant height there. We actually had one of our first meetings today with West Plains Engineering on the exterior lighting, and we're looking at LED lighting, which has much less of a spread on light, so that the lights that will illuminate the parking lot won't they won't bleed over into the neighboring areas as much as maybe the old styles would have. They also have features on them that will tone down as it gets farther into the evening. They're still on, but they're not as bright, and it's kind of cool, the technology they have that both saves energy but also reduces any impact to any adjoining neighbors.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
One other thing I wanted to say quick is we normally do 1 ADA unit in a building. It's a requirement of the HUD funding that we receive. The second ADA unit that we're doing was actually a partnership with First Congregational Church. They have a mission of assisting in affordable housing, and they feel this project is one that they're wanting to invest in, and specifically adding another ADA unit was a target for them. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, could I bring staff back up for a quick question, please?
Yes, please.
Jason, parking has been a concern here. Is it And looking at the drawing, you got 8 units. Theoretically, you could have 8 people with cars, but I've only got, it looks like 6 parking spots, maybe 7.
I think they have 7 on site that they're
Requirements by
planning.
the city.
It's 1.5 spaces per unit. They are proposing that amount of parking on site, and then there's other provisions in the ordinance, the zoning ordinance, for some bus passes that they can purchase, and then some accessory off-site parking that they're looking at having. So all those things will need to be worked out before construction can begin on this particular use here. So they're aware of the parking requirements, and they've been working on doing some alternatives to get the extra ones that they need.
And if I recall, Jason, bike racks can help in that as well?
Not for residential. That's usually just for commercial and industrial uses. But they planned on purchasing the 2 bus passes that will eliminate two parking spaces, just because their intent is to certain people not driving that are going to be renters there. So.
Okay.
All right, any other questions for staff? All right, thanks, Jason. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address this item? All right, seeing none, I'd like to have a motion to approve for discussion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve item 4.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Madam Chair, this is a rezone request, so what it boils down to is we're looking at, does RA1 low-density apartments fit at the corner of 10th and Summit? Anything they build is going to have to follow all the standards and ordinance of the city, so should a low-density apartment be on that intersection? My thought is yes. I mean, it's kitty corner from other low-density apartments. There's other of that stuff in the area, so it makes sense for this to be approved.
All right, thank you.
I would agree with Nick. Obviously, this is a major arterial thoroughfare through the city of Sioux Falls. We know it's an improvement from what was there before. While I can appreciate that looking at an empty lot is pleasurable, it's probably not the most optimal for a lot of reasons. Our role here is this a good use of land? And I would agree that it is. We make no judgments on who tenants are going to be or who is going to move in there. It really is up to the free market to determine that. So I will support this project because I think it's a fantastic use of that property.
All right, thank you.
Madam Chair, I don't want to discount in any way the issues with parking and the concern about the congestion in this area that could likely develop, but we also have to be cognizant of the plans of the developer when they purchased this land. They didn't make this investment to leave it vacant and lose their investment in this matter, and street parking is just it's a public right. I mean, where it's allowed, it's allowed. Mm-hmm. So the plans for the redevelopment, the additional elaboration on how it's going to be developed, I think is going to look great in this area, and I too feel affirming it. So.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Item 7, 2298, 2015, rezone from the C2 Commercial Neighborhood and Streetcar District to the C3 Commercial Community District for loud forms located at the southwest corner of East 41st Street and South Sycamore Avenue.
Jason Bieber again. Before we start this case, I just wanted to make a quick announcement that we did approve the consent agenda. So if you were items 3, 5, and 6, 8, 9, 10, or 11, you are free to go. Items 4 and 7, obviously, we're talking about now. So this is an application by Jeff Johnson for Fairway Stores Incorporated. It is a request to rezone from the C2 to the C3 commercial districts to allow a retail building of a maximum size of 30,000 square feet. It is located at the southwest corner of East 41st Street and South Sycamore Avenue. The applicant is proposing to construct roughly a 27,560 square foot grocery store, Fairway Grocery Store. They are proposing to have access on East 41st Street and then one access on South Sycamore Avenue. The submitted concept plan does indicate the required 15-foot front yard setbacks. The parking, they are required by ordinance to provide one parking space for every 300 square feet for a total of 92 parking spaces required. They are providing 157 according to their concept plan. A level C buffer yard is required on the west portion of this lot adjacent to the existing AD2 or twin home uses to the west. That buffer yard requires a 30-foot setback. However, they can utilize the South Bedford Avenue right-of-way as half their setback, so go down to 15 feet. Further, they're required a 4-foot berm and 40 units of landscaping per every 100 lineal feet. The concept plan does indicate the required buffer yard, the 15-foot buffer yard. They're showing 21 feet, and the required number of landscape units. The subject property is in conformance with the comprehensive plan. The proposed C3 commercial community district allows the RE4 form, which allows a building to be a maximum of 75,000 square feet. The parcel is located at an intersection of a type 2 arterial street and one type 3 arterial street as designated in the future land use map. However, staff feels the proposed building should not be larger than 30,000 square feet of gross floor area. We feel limiting the size should provide a better fit with the existing neighborhood and provide a better land use transition to the existing twin home and single family uses to the west. Finally, that required level C buffer yard should minimize any incompatibilities from the proposed retail use to the existing residential uses to the west. Because the subject application is consistent with the Shape Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan, a proper land use transition will exist and potential incompatibilities can be minimized. Staff does recommend approval of the rezoning with the following condition: a building of no more than 30,000 square feet of gross floor area. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thanks, Jason. Any questions?
Madam Chair? Jason, C2 allows how big of a building?
C2 would allow up to 25,000 square feet.
Okay, and this is just slightly bigger than that, right?
Yeah, I think they were projecting 27,600, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. Would the applicant please come forward? State your name and address.
Good evening, Jeff Johnson, Fairway Stores, 715 8th Street, Boone, Iowa. As Jason stated, we've got this in front of you this evening, moving from a C2 to C3 for what we consider a slight increase in footprint size, possibly up to 30,000 square feet, most likely ending up somewhere between 28 and 29,000 square feet as we finalize working through this. We did have a neighborhood meeting February 24th at 6 p.m. at Great Western Bank and tried to open up our plan to the neighbors and start a dialogue and discussion with them. So I'd be happy to take any questions or maybe for a second just echo a couple of Jason's comments. Going from C2 to C3, we're actually increasing our west buffer yard. The RE4 form, I believe it's called, requires a 30-foot total buffer yard, which we're accommodating with our 21-foot buffer yard of actual grass and then a portion of the right-of-way as allowed by the code. Again, I'll stress that we've got more than ample parking here. We believe we almost meet the parking requirements by an increase of 50% of the requirement. So I'd be happy to take any questions that the commission may have.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant?
Madam Chair, just one quick question. So this 21-foot that's exceeding the 15 will be in addition to the 15 right-of-way?
That's correct. Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
And the landscape units increase as a requirement in that buffer yard from C2 to C3.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this item?
My name's Richard Moe. I reside at 3401 South Bedford Avenue, immediately west of the proposed new store. I also happen to be the current president of the Bedford Homeowners Association. The association is composed of the homeowners of the twin homes along the west side of Bedford Avenue and the north side of 42nd Street. The Bedford homeowners have a number of concerns that there has been a great deal of discussion about among the members. At this point, we're not opposing the request for rezoning. My function here tonight is primarily to make this commission aware of the concerns of the homeowners, and it's basically two items. First is to be sure to maintain the neighborhood character of Bedford Avenue, and the second is concern about water drainage. And a couple of the homeowner members are here to specifically talk about problems with water drainage. The primary concerns that have been discussed among the association about keeping the neighborhood character of Bedford Avenue include several items. First, to ensure that there's no commercial access to Bedford Avenue, and the fairway design observes that. There's also concern expressed about light spillage. And at the neighborhood meeting Mr. Johnson referred to, there was a good description about their plans to enforce lighting requirements that exceed current city requirements. There was also concern among the homeowners about the signage and the design of the west side of the building, and the plans as presented at the neighborhood meeting accommodate those concerns. The homeowners, I think, had a favorable reaction to the explanations presented at the neighborhood meeting, and assuming the actual plans develop and are constructed in that fashion, I think this would be a very satisfactory neighbor. There was a letter that I sent on behalf of the homeowners citing these items along with others. A copy was sent to Chuck Service of the city engineering staff, and I'll provide copies to the planning staff. I'd want to thank Fairway for their neighborhood meeting. It was a good meeting and they handled it very well. And we appreciated the accommodation that they have given to the concerns about maintaining the neighborhood character. And I'd like to thank the city staff for their participation, whatever that may have been, to help enforce that same neighborhood character. At this point, I'd, I guess, ask some of the homeowners who have concerns about water drainage who can speak personally to those issues.
All right, thank you.
Questions?
Any questions? All right, thank you. You can come forward.
Good evening. My name is Larry Long, and my wife and I and the Leaches, who are the folks who are sitting next to me, we live in a twin home at 4300 East 42nd Street, which is the most southwesterly portion of the block upon which Fairway Foods intends to build their property. And it is the Leaches and my wife and I who have the drainage problem. And we're on the southwest portion of the block. We are also on the lowest portion of the block. And the two commercial properties which are directly north of us, the bank and the dance studio, both have paved parking lots, and virtually all of the water from the bank property goes directly south into the backyards of the properties that are uphill and to the east of us. And then it all comes down through our backyard. Well, when it rains hard and fast, all of that water takes over the drain tile system in our homes, and when it comes hard and fast, we get water in the basement. I think I've spent enough money cleaning up the water in my basement that I should have bought stock in the Intech company. And that's, I mean, it becomes tedious and it becomes expensive after you've cleaned up your home 2 or 3 times. The leaches and us have made significant adjustments to attempt to divert this water and to get it out of our backyard. We have installed high pressure sump pumps. We've done the things that we can do. We've flipped the downspouts on our properties. We've talked our neighbors into doing that so that the water goes into the street to the south rather than into the backyards, because that simply makes the problem worse. And we have shared these concerns with the Fairway Foods folks. Our sole concern, our primary concern, is that Fairway doesn't build anything which is going to allow 1 drop of water to come south off of their property. It has to go some direction other than south, because the problem we have is barely tolerable as it is now, and if the water goes someplace other than south, then we'll be able to deal with it. We've shared our concerns with them, and I hope that they will do what they have indicated that they will do. So that's our concern.
All right.
And,
thank you.
And I'll stand by for questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Larry? All right, thank you.
You know what, I have a couple questions. Judge, you probably know the statutes way better than all of us sitting up here do. So the ordinance state that you're exactly correct. Not 1 ounce of water
More.
can drain off that lot than currently does. And I would hope that the Fairway folks will be able to help you in your existing water issue, that they will have a BMP either underground or with a pond on their site or something that would, I don't think a vacant lot is helping you, even though it may seem like it does, but when it's coming hard and fast and it's all draining to the south, that's obviously your problem.
Well, yeah, we are, I think all of us who are part of the Bedford Homeowners Association understand eventually something commercial is going to get built on that property. The folks at Fairway seem to understand our problem and seem to be sympathetic to it, and at this point, we're grateful for that. But we want you folks to understand it as well, so that when we're standing up here and when they talk about drainage, we wanted you to understand what they're talking about. So.
Absolutely.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Greg Leach. As Larry said, I'm his neighbor. The one thing I'd like to get on record tonight is I did have a conversation with Matt Sherwood. I believe he's the engineer for Fairway last Friday. And Matt did assure me that they would take care of the water issues. Now, I know talk is kind of cheap, but I just wanted that on record that he did say that he would help us in that situation so that no water from the Fairway parking lot would come south. And I think that's important to note here. So, okay.
All right, thank you. Jeff?
And I'll summarize what everybody's just said. Jeff Schmidt from the City of Sioux Falls. What the last 2 or 3 people have mentioned is We have a city ordinance, a city law that says that when sites get developed, they cannot discharge any water more than what's already being discharged off their site. So what everybody's just said is there will not be any more water coming off the site than is already coming off the site. They can't do that. What Jesse's alluding to is there's probably a lot of water coming off that site right now, and when they put a parking lot in there with curbs and gutters and a detention pond, there's probably going to be less water, which would then improve the site. But they will not be able to discharge more. So that's a good thing. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
My name is Bill Kunzel. I'm here on behalf of Britz's Studios, the dance studio to the south. There's an empty lot in between us and where the Fairway food store is. My wife owns and operates the business there, and her and I own the property. I had a nice chat with Jeff tonight. I've been out of town, so I haven't had a chance to talk to him earlier or to attend the neighborhood meeting. But most of my concerns have been alleviated. But we have no objection to Fairway Foods. We think they do a nice job. They got good stores and overall do a good job. But we do have some concerns before approval. Our primary concern is traffic. Traffic to the east as you go out of. We have an easement, a mutual access easement that is our sole path to get to our business. And we have a lot of traffic that goes in and out of there. If you can imagine, we have several hundred students at any given time. We have 30 parking spaces, which is sometimes inadequate, but we do the best we can. But more importantly, we have a lot of moms and dads that are dropping off kids. So at any given time at 3, 4, 5, 6 o'clock, you can have 50 to 75 cars coming and going at that point in time. That intersection, or the entrance, and exit that's immediately to the north of the Great Western Bank building, it becomes very, very congested at times. And our concern is, my wife, who incidentally is Jill Kunzel, her concern is that when those people are trying to get in and out of her business, and you have, I think there was 157 parking spaces, another 100 cars coming and going from Fairway at 5 o'clock, we're going to have a real problem at that intersection. Over the past 8 years since we've been there have been several accidents concerning our clients at that corner. What happens is traffic gets heavy, gets backed up, people get nervous, and they pull out. So our primary concern here is safety of our business patrons as they come and they go. I think it's legitimate. I'm not a traffic engineer. I haven't looked at any studies yet. I realize that's awful close to the intersection. I don't know if it's possible to put in a light there. Somebody said it's too close to the existing intersection. But I'm here to say that we believe that it's going to be an issue with the way it's designed. I have two other concerns. One is I don't understand the water retention pond, whether it's going to hold water or not. But obviously with having children coming and going from our studio, that was part of the neighborhood plan. They thought it was a good fit. I just don't want to have a pond full of water there that some kid can walk over and fall in and drown. So I don't know if it's necessary to have a safety fence or something like that, but I just raise that as a concern. And the third thing I do share with Judge Long and the Leaches is as it relates to, my concern would be as it relates to water going north. My understanding is there's an underground storm sewer that takes away the storm water, and then there's two kind of grates that are on the west edge of our properties where the water drains down through our current parking lot and the parking lot that's to the immediate north of ours on the empty lot. But what happens is during times of extremely heavy rain, it fills up and it can't empty out. And our sump pumps at times can't empty out. We have to be on the alert to go up and unhook them, because if we run them into the underground storm sewer, which we're required to do, they back up, and of course we got wood floors on our basement. We're in the same position as the Leaches and the Longs. But my concern is are we going to increase that? I don't know where their water is going to go. My observation would be when it rains on dirt, it's going to sink in a little bit. When it rains on concrete, nothing's going to sink in. It's all got to go someplace. So I just think that's a concern, is and I don't know, again, the engineering on it, how big the storm sewer is or what was done, but I am here to say that during times of extremely, and call it unusual rainfall, it can be a problem, and if there's something that can be done to alleviate that, we would very much appreciate that. And thank you, Jeff, for, I don't know where he went. Well, there you are. I just wanted to thank him for responding to the other concerns that we had that I don't need to take your time up with this evening. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Bill. Any questions? All right. Anyone else in the audience who would like to address this item? All right. Seeing none, I'd like to have a motion to approve for discussion.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Well, first of all, this seems like an excellent use of this particular corner. I live in nearby this neighborhood. I drive by this several times a day, and this is a great fit for this particular piece of property. And I know Jeff expressed the drainage concerns and how the city ordinance and codes will specifically address that and make sure that we as designers do the right thing by the neighborhood, and it's clear that Fairway is entirely behind that, so it sounds like an excellent fit for this area.
All right. Any other discussion?
I'll also add that the engineering for the drainage is a law. It's required. It's got to happen.
Mm-hmm. Madam Chair, one of the concerns was on traffic, and I think they have to have access permits with city traffic engineering before any buildings can happen as well, which should, I mean, those are the engineers that understand how traffic flows, and they will do what they need to do to make sure that people stay safe.
All right. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes. Yes.
Opposed, same sign. All right. Motion passes.
Item 12, 2173-2015 rezone from the CN Conservation District to the O Office District for allowed forms located at 6009 South Minnesota Avenue.
That item is being deferred.
All right. So we need a motion to defer item number 12 to the April meeting.
So moved.
I move we defer to our next regular meeting, April 1st.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right. All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right. Motion passes.
Item 13, 2243-2015 rezone from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the S1 General Institutional District for allowed forms located at 1116 South 4th Avenue.
Madam Chair, I'll need to step down, please.
All right.
Good evening, Diane DeCoyer with the planning staff. The project before you is a request to rezone 3.67 acres from the RT1 Single Family Residential Traditional District to the S1 General Institutional District. The building is currently used as Longfellow Elementary School, located at the northeast corner of 4th Avenue and East 20th Street. Dakota Abilities will take ownership of the building this summer, where they plan to move their offices, classroom, and training center. While the building has been used as an elementary school, staff and faculty have parked in the lot to the south of the building and overflowed onto adjacent streets. We have received a few phone calls from neighbors expressing their concern regarding parking for the new use of the building. The owner has indicated that all clients will be bused in by paratransit, and staff and administration will make use of the existing parking stalls. Because the facility is a mix of office and human service, which requires different parking needs, we've asked the applicant by way of this report to apply for an alternative parking plan to study their parking use more carefully. Because the subject application is consistent with the Sioux Falls Comprehensive Plan, staff recommends approval for this rezone. And I can answer any questions you might have.
All right. Thanks, Diane. Any questions?
Madam Chair? So how does the alternative parking plan work, or what's the process for them to submit and then get approval?
They'll have to show us based on what the existing parking is, Office requirement is 1 to 300, and human service facility is based on, I think it's based on the highest number of employees at the peak period of use within the building. So we've got to look at that and kind of evaluate what's the best requirement for parking.
And that goes to staff, and staff approves, or what's the?
That goes to staff, and we would bring that before you at the, probably not at the April, but probably at the May meeting, since there was not an application made by the deadline on Monday.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks, Diane. Would the applicant please come forward?
My name is Bob Bohm. I'm the Executive Director at Dakota Abilities. The address is 3600 South Duluth. We have great and wonderful plans for this property. If the issue related to parking, we have done some analysis. We haven't responded to Diane in written form. In areas where you require 2 parking spaces per 3 employees or 1 per 8 clients, the maximum number of stalls required would be 80. There's 103 stalls on the plans for this property. Questions that neighbors may have had about parking on the streets where teachers, educators, and other administrative folks may park today. The presumption for me is with about 70 or even as high as 75, which we don't have a plan for, employees in that place, our clients don't drive. They come on paratransit. They don't have vehicles. All of our folks can park off-street with extra parking still available on the site. There are 103 spaces planned for that, not including that small little parking area that's on the south side of the building.
Great. Thank you. Any questions? All right.
So that additional parking is toward the east of the building, I take it? Is that correct?
Yes. The east portion there will be restructured with some green space, some berms, and some other stuff so that the neighbors aren't going to have headlights in the bedroom windows in the early morning. The building will be used much as it is today. It's a school. Teachers arrive early in the morning. Most folks are going home at 3:30 or 4. Administrative folks are hanging around a little bit later. That's almost precisely how it will be used in the future. We're combining two different locations of about 20,000 square feet into this one, which has about 44,000 square feet, and we'll have room for growth and some new programs that we haven't been able to do before.
Thank you.
When do you anticipate full occupancy of this property?
We'll get access to the property on around the 1st of June. That's we made the purchase, so we closed the deal then. We'll have to rehab it. We're working on all the plans and stuff for that now. Hope we would occupy before the 1st of the year next year. Be a great Christmas present for a whole bunch of folks.
Indeed.
The other thing that I did want to mention, we want to be a good neighbor. That school's been a neighbor and an integral part of that community for a long time. Although our insurance folks don't like it, we're going to leave the playground there. We want kids in the neighborhood still to be able to use it. It won't interfere with the parking, all of that kind of stuff. This is a community project, not just necessarily one for Dakota Abilities. Or a lot of the school folks are looking at it as, gee, we're losing our school. It's just another chapter in the building for the neighborhood. I hope it's a good chapter.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this item?
Ladies and gentlemen, hi, Bill Jensen. I live at 1201 South 4th Avenue, which is kitty corner across the street from Longfellow. We've been there for many years and have enjoyed the school. All three of my sons went to school there, matter of fact, as well as I did. So it has a lot of history for me. My concern isn't so much about what's going in there. I think they're going to be great neighbors as much as I've read and see. But what happens down the road when they decide to relocate somewhere else, to go on to a bigger and better avenue, or if they cease to exist? And I hope that doesn't happen, but let's just say that does. By changing the zoning of this particular building, what does that open it up to, and what could happen in the future? And that's really the only thing that I have on my mind. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Stacy McMahon, 716 North Wells Avenue in Sioux Falls. I just wanted to clarify there's a new parking lot planned for the east paved area. Right now that's a playground. There is no parking there. There's a total of about 14 parking spaces in that small lot to the south on the site. The required per the building occupancy, required stalls are 60, and 103 are being provided. The small south lot, we're adding another street access, so it'll be a drive-through. It's for drop-off of the wheelchair-bound clients and visitor parking and handicap parking. And then in the east lot, where the majority of the parking is, there'll be 4 handicap spots and two driveway access, one to the north and one to the south, and they are offset to avoid a drive-through sort of shortcut situation.
All right, thank you. Diane, could you maybe come forward and just explain what is allowed in S1 zoning, please?
In S1 zoning, typically what we like to see there is schools, a place of worship, health and human service facilities, halfway house, drug or alcohol rehabilitation clinics, temporary emergency shelters, but some of those, they would still have to come through the planning office for approval, and in some cases a conditional use. And regarding the parking, we weren't provided a parking plan as part of this submittal, which is why we requested additional information, or will. And again, there's multi-use of the S1 in this building, so we still will have to look at it a little bit more carefully, and it sounds like the applicant has been working on that. So,
all right, thank you. Any questions for Diane? All right. Thanks, Diane. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address this? Great. Seeing none, I would like a motion to approve for discussion.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
It's nice to see buildings like this still used, especially with this sort of a occupant and good neighbors, and it'll be, I think this is a great project for the area.
Yeah, I would add upon what Mr. Bohm said. You know, it's just a second chapter in the same book, and we don't have a crystal ball. I wish we could affirm, Bill, that Dakota Abilities will be here for 100 years, but we're not in that business. And I hope they have as long history at this Longfellow location as the previous tenant, and I think all good things can come.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
Item 14, 2302-2015, Initial Development Plan Amendment for Lake Lorraine Pedestrian Orientated Planned Unit Development located east of South Marion Road and north-south of West 32nd Street.
Good evening, Diane DeCoyer with planning staff again. The applicant is Steve Van Buskirk with Van Buskirk Companies, and the owner is the Friesen Family LLC. The property is 131.2 acres located between South Marion Road and I-29 and south of West Lakeshore Drive. This is the second amendment for the development. You saw one a few months ago when the applicant came in with the Grand Living Senior Housing Project. The applicant is requesting an amendment to continue construction of the Lake Lorraine POPUD. The majority of the initial development plan approved in May of 2014 will stay the same except for the commercial areas west of I-29 with this application. The applicant is adjusting the shape, setback, and orientation of buildings by more than 10%, which reduces the connection and relationship of buildings to each other as based on the initial development plan and PUD standards. Common open space along the pedestrian path on the east side of the lake is minimized with the changes to commercial lots and parking. Street patterns to the east follows the form of the lake and pedestrian path with access to parking adjacent to commercial lots. The applicant has also submitted a more detailed signage plan that includes address and wayfinding, gateway and entrance signs, kiosks with the Lake Lorraine map, and multi-tenant monument signs and building wall signs. The submitted initial development plan amendment continues to provide the necessary land use transitions within and on the outside edges of the PUD. The pedestrian orientation is shown throughout the initial development plan and will be reviewed for consistency during final development plan acceptance. Commercial uses are situated along the outside of the 131.2 acres and adjacent to the three major roadways, South Marion Road, Interstate I-29, and East Lakeshore Drive. Based on the subject application for the Lake Lorraine initial development plan amendment is consistent with the intent of the pedestrian-oriented plan, unit development, and the proper land use transitions will still exist. Staff recommends approval of the request.
All right, thank you, Diane. Any questions for staff? All right, thank you. Is the applicant here?
Hello, Steve Van Buskirk, 5800 South Remington Place. You got the staff report. Maybe I just kind of open it up for questions and see if you had any thoughts.
All right, thanks, Steve. Any questions?
I think it's exciting. It's a great plan. Obviously, I know the family's been waiting a long time for this to develop, and as have you been, and I think the entire west side of Sioux Falls will look forward to see
Great.
what's
Yep.
down the pike.
Yeah, we're still here. The Fusions are here tonight, so still hanging with it. So that's good.
Good. All right.
Spence, you're still hanging in there too, so gotta be getting close.
Don't tempt him.
Thanks, Steve. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this item? All right, seeing none. Like a motion to approve for discussion? And a
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Well, at first glance, the big thing that sticks out on this one is some excellent pedestrian connectivity. We love to see that, and this one appears to go above and beyond kind of the normal expectations, which is great to see in this kind of a community, and a very forward-thinking approach at how these places will interact with one another.
I would just add to this is that this whole area being developed in this way is going to be such a vast improvement. It's just going to be hard to realize. We have been waiting quite a while, so I'm excited about it.
As a West Side resident, here.
Right. Well, I'm not sure how the vote's going to go, but all right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you.
Item 15, 2183, 2015 preliminary subdivision plan for USF South Campus Addition located east of South Cliff Avenue and north and south of East 77th Street.
All right, we need a motion to defer item number 15 to the April meeting.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Same sign. All right, motion passes.
Item 16, a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the project plan for Tax Increment Finance District 2014A.
Hey, good evening. I'm Brent O'Neill with the Economic Development Division, here to talk about actually two TIF projects. Items 16 and 17 are really one of the same projects, so if you guys don't mind, I'd like to give the presentation for both, and truth be told, if you wanted me to give it twice for item 17, I'd be happy to do so.
Just record it and play it back.
That's even better. One of the nice things, as you know, we've changed our process a couple years ago. This is the first application that is coming under that process, but as you guys know, we've been able to meet with the Planning Commission at least twice prior to this meeting to give you a heads up on what this project is and make sure that you guys have had all the time that you need. So for that reason, I'm probably also going to be a little bit abbreviated in the presentation and certainly be willing to answer any questions. We've got the developers here on this project as well. Norm Drake and Kevin Keating are the principals, and they'd be happy to come up when the time is right as well. Wanted to, if I could, just take maybe 60 seconds and just kind of tell you what we're looking at with tax increment financing. And we're really looking at putting an incentive into a project that allows it to go forward. This image up there, if I could walk you through it real quick, if you just start in the very lower left corner, that tries to show you what today the property looks like in terms of its taxable value. You see the 4 bars at the bottom really show the split between the city, county, school district, and then there's actually a water district that has taxable value as well. That's where this property is at today, and really without projects happening on this property, where it would stay. By doing a project, you certainly increase the taxable value, and that shows you that tax increment box where the value of the property really jumps up significantly. Over time, those funds, when their taxes are collected, are put into a fund that can reimburse for costs that were necessary to actually get the project kick-started at the beginning. Over time, and if you get about 60% to the right, you see that the TIF project was completed, and then you see that benefit that those 4 taxing entities get from that point going forward. So what we're really looking at today is that box that says tax increment financing. We're trying to use that to get a project done by allowing some of those growth in taxes to actually go into the project itself, and then over time the 4 taxing entities would receive that boost going forward. If you do have questions on that, please let me know. Otherwise, I will jump into what we're calling TIF 2014A. That's how we reseeded it in, but it would be proposed to be TIF 19. And the 2 actions we're asking you to take are to approve the boundary. So really what you see up there, and I'll explain this in a second, to say that this will be the designated TIF district. And then part 2 is a project plan that outlines the projects that will occur, the activities that will occur, and kind of how they'll go forward. With that, we posted a slightly larger TIF district online, and we have communicated with you that we're proposing a smaller one. So I did want to pass out the updated plan, and then I brought 3 extra copies. I don't know if I've given enough for everyone in the audience, but certainly wanted to make sure that anyone here had a chance to look at these as well. So I'll set them right here. And then I would also point out that this version has been uploaded online as well. So anyone that's watching from home or wants to look this up later can see this as well. But we're proposing a district that has really 2 projects proposed. One of those has the need for TIF. Both projects are proposed to occur by the same developers that I mentioned earlier, and they could maybe allude to that in a little bit. But we're looking at a project in the downtown area. As we've talked about before, it is really bounded by 3rd Avenue on the east, 1st Avenue on the west, 12th Street on the north, and 13th Street on the south. Right where proposed TIF 19, that box is on the map, is where Sunshine is, if that helps orient any better. Includes several properties for these 2 projects. Project 1 really is the impetus again for this. It is that larger red box within the district. It'll occur primarily on the eastern quarter of that project. And then there's a couple images of what this project will look like. It's a 4-story building, really meant to be aesthetically pleasing and fit into the downtown area. To the right shows the parking. There will also be underground parking in this facility. And then you can kind of see the L shape of the floor plans. So I'm going to talk about the two projects. Again, Project 1 is a project that we're looking at. It would have an investment of approximately $12 million. It'd be 80 units of what we're calling workforce level housing. It's housing that would be affordable and really geared towards those people looking to live downtown, where it's maybe a little more feasible for them to live downtown, but the rents typically would be too high. So this will be a project that is affordable to many people. They are looking at both a tax credit a piece, and I'd ask them to speak to that a little bit. It's not your traditional tax credit. It's a different program that is allowed to help reduce cost. Even with that, we're still looking at a $1.5 million shortfall to make this project a reality, and that's why we're here to talk about TIF. We've gone through this project, quite frankly, this application came in, I think, the last week of December. We had to have a couple meetings before just talking about how this would work, what would be the level of support, what was the true need. And we're at a point now, after discussing this several times, that we believe that this project does not go forward unless we're looking at tax increment financing to the tune of the amount up there. Some of the costs, and this is not an exhaustive list, they are in your packets, but just demo of existing property. There's the Tyler Block building is on there. It's a building that's past its useful life. There's parking that has to be redone. There's excavation of the site and getting it prepped for this project. And then, again, there's a lot of fees that go into this one primarily because of its involvement with the other program as well. So that would be covered in the TIF district as well. And then the second project is a little bit smaller. It would be a $6 million project, and as it's planned right now, it's about 40 units. This is a future-looking project. Project 1, we'd be looking at something that could start as soon as this spring or summer. Project 2 would be, at a minimum a year, if not 2 or 3 years out. But the two projects together do really support, one, the housing objectives that we're trying to have citywide as well as downtown. But two, also those two projects combined really make, they're synergetic in that they both become much more feasible by being able to be done together, be in the district together. When we're talking about what the TIF looks like, the value of the property that are in the boundaries that you have before you is roughly $3.7 million, and I intentionally went real broad and round with these numbers. I think there is more detail in the document you have. But by doing these two projects, we'd be looking at a tax increment, so growth in property tax value of at least $7 million. And you can see kind of how we're allocating that to the two projects that you see on the screen there, a little over 3 for one and a little over 4 for the other. And we do expect that to grow over time as well. The incremental taxes generated, that's the actual amount that we can put into the project through tax increment financing, would be in excess of $150,000 once the projects are both completed, both on the tax rolls and stabilized. The developer would seek private financing for that amount, and we'd reimburse that. We expect it to pay off within 16 to 20 years. Obviously, we always hope it's sooner. It has a statutory ceiling of 20 years, and we expect it to pay off within that time frame. That concludes my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and I know the developers would as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Brent? All right. Thank you. Would the applicant come forward?
Norman Drake, Legacy Developments, 101 South Main. And
I'm Kevin Keating, 1512 North 133rd Street, Omaha, Nebraska.
Do you have anything you'd like to add, or?
I think we'd just like to open it up to any questions that the council may have.
Could you maybe go into a little bit more detail about the 80 units, our workforce And then I mentioned some are tax credit and then another program. Could you maybe explain that a little bit?
Yeah, there are 2 tax credit programs in the state. One of them is a...
No, closer to the mic, please.
Closer, sorry. We refer to the first one, which is most commonly used in the state, is a 9% credit. But there's a second program that's very seldom used in the state. It's a 4% credit. And it requires a similar application process with the South Dakota Housing Development Authority. The difference is you're getting 40% of your, or 4% of your eligible basis annually rather than 9% of your eligible basis annually in terms of the amount of credits you're receiving. So it's significantly less, significantly fewer credits, which means you have significantly more debt you've got to service on the property. So the question is, why would you do that? Well, because the 4% credit is not a competitive process in the same way that a 9% is competitive. A 4%, if you use it requires that you use a kind of a sophisticated financing structure with a tax-exempt bond. If the financing of the tax-exempt bond is approved, then the credits automatically flow through to the project. And I've used this before in South Dakota. I may be one of the only ones that have. Also in Sioux Falls, I've got a project on West 41st Street that uses the same financing. So not having the competitive process and having more debt, we're able to target higher income tenants. Still affordable, but we're targeting at 60% of area median income for 100% of the units. So rather than on the 9%, typically you've got much more deeply targeted income restrictions, 30, 40, 50%. With the 4% program, since I'm not getting near as many credits, I'm allowed to go to 60%. So that's hopefully answers your question on that, but I'd be glad to answer any more.
Can I ask it, and I'm not extremely familiar with any of these financing mechanisms, but aren't there incentives for banks to help with these tax credits as well in this
There
housing?
are CRA requirements that banks have that encourage them to buy tax credits. I mean, they can satisfy a CRA requirement, their banking CRA requirement, if they purchase tax credits. And so, yeah, there is. You just have to be a bank that wants to buy credits.
And there are some in Sioux Falls.
There are some, yeah. We think there's, I mean, we've had discussions with a number of parties about selling the credits, so I don't think that's going to be a problem for us.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
I've got some questions about the property boundaries, and can we bring that map back up there?
There we go.
First off, I want to say, Brent, I think you did a great job presenting the project itself. Being on the Downtown 2025 group, this is exactly the sort of project that we're looking for redevelopment and investment in downtown Sioux Falls. I think it's an exciting project. I think it's obvious here there's so many small parcels and how they are divvied up, and it'll be nice to have these as combined parcels. My only concern, and I have said it before on TIFs that have come before us, when you take property into your TIF beyond your boundary, you are using somebody else's tax credit for your project, or potential tax credit for your project. So if you could, for me, with the help of the city staff here, let me know, just by indication of a check mark, which parcels you own and maybe have options on as it relates to this entire project would be helpful. And you can go through the numbers, whatever's easiest.
Sure. 32312.
Right.
I'm an owner in that project. 32318, 32317, 32325, 32324.
Okay.
Those are the ones that
Those 6 of the properties you don't have an ownership in, and 5 of them you do.
Correct.
Okay.
And we've published the TIF and the TID. It's been out there over 45 days. I believe that's correct. It's also been in the paper. We've talked with several of the people there as well.
But
not all of them have been talked to. You know, my feeling on it is that I'm even including them in this district. I'm not causing any adverse situation to their property. Clint, who was here earlier tonight, I mean, he was originally in it, and you know, I've had conversations with him, and you know, even when we had his in, you know, he recognized that in the portion that we had his in, it, you know, it really didn't do anything to detract or why he could not support the project.
only to the fact, Norm, that let's suppose these 3 parcels to the north of where you're at, they get a single owner, and he wants to redevelop that property, and he wants to TIF. His TIF, it's tied up for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
He has no opportunity to get a TIF on that property to do exactly what you're doing.
And you're exactly right, and that's why I would expect that if, you know, if it was a real objection and he had a real plan, that they'd probably be here tonight objecting to it.
But have you met with these 3 particular property owners?
I've met with 323, 328, and we've also been in contact with 32327.
Is 32329, is that city lot?
That is city.
Okay, you can put an X through that one, because I'll buy that as well.
Yeah, not a lot of tax increment off of that one.
Yeah, right, absolutely. And you know, again, I think it's a great project. I'm grateful that you're the second ones to delve into this. The sooner it can happen, the better. I just have a little heartburn about bringing somebody else's property in on your TIF, and
Understand.
I'm on record as saying it.
And we're just trying to look out for the city as well, because we really want this to be a successful project. And in order to get the increment to where we could create this workforce housing project, we really needed to include this and step up to the table and agree to redevelop, you know, these other 2 parcels over here in 32324 and 32325 as well. And, you know, put additional risk out there in order to get this increment to be able to support a project we really think will help in what we call workforce housing, which we think are the people that are working downtown. They're the bank tellers, they're the bartenders, they're the waitresses, they're people that are living and working downtown but can't pay the $1.35 a square foot rent for the downtown lofts, but they're living on the south end of town and having to commute. And now that we can make these rents, because the rents fall in line and their income falls in line, we think that this is a really great project. We think that it'll
I wouldn't disagree with you with that for 1 minute. I'm hearing the same thing, that we have a large segment of our downtown population that loves it downtown. They spend, you know, more than 8 hours a day down there working. And you're right, the rents are quickly becoming unaffordable for them as well.
A couple comments maybe or follow-up questions. Who draws the TIF map? Do you guys draw it, or does the city?
The TID?
The
district?
Yeah, sorry, the map.
Okay. That's kind of a combination where we really have to work together. You know, we've got to get their sign off. We propose something and we go back and forth. I mean, before we ever got to this stage, just that everybody here knows, I mean, we worked on this for probably 4 months before we ever got to the point of even being able to get Brent and Darren to agree to looking at a TIF in this area, because they have their list of options that we normally go through. And so it's a collaborative effort between them and us.
And you said there's no detriment to them to being included in the district. Is there a benefit to you to have them included?
Yeah, sure. The benefit to us is that there's a small appreciation, and we're making the assumption that nothing else happens here. because these other properties are all fairly small, that the likelihood of them even getting to the fact of needing a TIF or wanting a TIF because of the costs that are involved with it are fairly small. So what we get is the incremental base by whatever the taxes appreciate or go up each year. That's the benefit that we get.
Yep, and that's where I sit with Jesse, is having some of that same heartburn on including projects that, or parcels that aren't included in the project, included in the TID.
But again, the benefit to the city is it pays it off faster, which is.
But they were getting those dollars anyway. Any incremental property tax values were going to get paid directly to the city and not
right,
come back to you.
But the downside of it is without the TIF, the project doesn't go. I mean, that's the downside of it.
And I know, I sit with Jesse, I agree the TIF is a great thing. I've been looking at the boundaries. Can't you draw a boundary directly around your projects and not include the other ones?
It won't, I mean, we've skinnied this up as tight as we can to still try and support the $1.5 million that's, that we've got extra cost. As Kevin explained, I mean, that's the difference between a 9% program and a 4% program. And, we're losing out on 5%. So every one of those projects, basically, they're over double the incentives that we're getting. And again, the other thing we have to do is we have to have a rent structure that's a little bit higher than what they have.
And there's good and bad to that too.
Exactly. I mean, I think it creates diversification within this neighborhood. I mean, you've got Clint's project where he's going to have owners over there, and people spending upwards over $300,000 a unit, and now we're creating something that I think isn't market rate, but is as close to market rate as we can get in an affordable product. And across the street from him, as it's been said, those will be market rate apartments. And we'd love to, and we've had discussions with the owners of 32327 and 32328 to make that an even bigger project. But I can't say anything definite right now.
The only other, and this maybe goes to Brent, so the proposed plan that you gave to us tonight is different than what was in the packet, correct?
I can allude to that, and maybe now's a good time to back up a little bit too. Jason, that Ackerman property, do you mind circling that? As Norm alluded to, we talked for several months going into this project, and I think I just want to make it clear, at any point we could have just said, let's go forward. Let's go forward as is, let's take our chances. And I think, I hope you guys would agree, as we were pushing it, we really wanted to refine this to the point where it made sense at a staff level, it would make sense for the Planning Commission, and it would make sense for the City Council. And that's why we've looked at this so hard. I mean, one of the nice things about having a larger district when we did have that other property is it increased the base. Or excuse me, the part of the district that you could capture tax increment from. And that would have really worked well for this project. It would have paid it off sooner. It would have made it a little bit more feasible on the financing side. This works. And this is something that I think was one of the successes of the way we've worked with these guys on it, is to find a project that is great for downtown. We're actually going to get 2 projects out of this scenario. And I think we've refined it to the point where it makes the most sense. Certainly I think these are very valid concerns about the properties. I would also say I think this is the best way we could have drawn it. There are, as we think of future projects that might happen, the last thing we want is a project occurring half inside a TIF district and half outside. And by having some of these clean boundaries, largely clean boundaries, really 3/4 of this is on the right-of-way line, does make a lot of sense for us. Nick, I'm not sure if I answered your question directly, so I'd be happy to take a second.
So I guess what I'm saying is, if you've been working on it for a long time, why yesterday did a bunch of things change with a vote expected today?
Sure. Well, the truth is they didn't change yesterday. We really, again, have been working, and we worked up to the last minute.
I appreciate that, but in the staff report, which we got on Friday, and so Friday versus Monday or Tuesday is not a huge difference in time.
Sure. No, that's a fair question, and I'll start by saying I think on any of these, as much notice as we can give you as possible is our goal. And, for what would be a short time frame, we apologize. I know that, really the change in what you had last week versus what we have today is the removal of that property to the south. It's one of those things where we really as we were working with these guys up until we got to this point, we were still trying to find the best way of bringing it forward, and we, quite honestly, were telling Norm and Kevin that we really felt if this project can get done with that boundary that's up there now, that would be what we are most supportive of. And to their credit, I don't think they were happy about looking at that again, but to their credit, they really, really sharpened their pencils, tried to find a way to make it work. Ultimately, they did, and it was one of those things where it was, the middle of last week, we kind of got the confirmation, this will work, we can go forward with this, and, any communication delays between then and Friday or Monday or even today, I'll take responsibility for, and I will, tell you it's something that we're only going to try to improve going forward.
Thanks.
You bet.
All right, any other questions?
Well, I do have one question and it was back on one of the informational things, and I realize why the size of this is for your tax increment, but there was one that said the second project, no TIF was needed. So why do we have it included in a TIF project?
Because you need that increment.
Because you needed the increments.
The reason it is I'm making myself responsible for making sure that the increment actually happens, because without having another project within this district, there's no way that we could fulfill the TIF. And so I had to step up to the plate and commit to it. And Nick, going back to your question with Brent, I got to take part of the responsibility, because Brent came to me about a week ago last Friday and said, listen, Norm, it's, including Clint's project in this is going to be a stretch. And I really need you to go back to the board and figure out if you can make this work. Well, I have to go back. I have to go back to my banks, and I have to go back to the people that are funding this from that level to make sure that they're still comfortable in funding this TIF for the period of time that's out here too. So that's part of the reason that it was a little fluid too.
Thanks.
My apologies.
Brent, is there other TIF districts that actually go beyond their property lines?
There have certainly been a precedent for that. The very first TIF district that Sioux Falls did included the entire downtown, 200 parcels perhaps, and that was structured a lot differently. But we have had others, TIF, there's a TIF in the uptown area, and I don't know how deep I want to dive into past TIFs, but certainly there was one there where we, certainly had a few more properties and also contemplated projects occurring in there. So it was kind of a two-stage way of setting that one up.
So it's kind of common sometimes to have it where it extends in a property that they don't own.
Yeah, I don't think it's rare at all. How common it is, I don't know either.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Anyone else in the audience that would like to address this item? All right, seeing none, I'd like a motion to approve for discussion purposes.
So moved.
Second.
All right, discussion?
Well, I'm sure they said we need to look at Clint's because Jesse will be asking why is Clint's project in this. And I just feel that's kind of my role here to ask that question. Having said that, I mean, up until I came here tonight, I have not had, I haven't been able to figure this out in my own head. So what I will tell you is that part of the Downtown 2025 project, having sat on that for a year, and we talked a lot about incentivizing. How can we incentivize developers to come downtown, to make projects happen downtown? And we all know that the city has some piles of money, but not huge piles of money to do these sorts of things. And again, what do we hear every single day? We're talking about workforce development, workforce development, workforce development. We don't have enough employees. We don't have enough places for them to live that are moderate in income. And this is filling and ticking some of those boxes for me. I like the project. I know I heard about the project at the 4-month ago mark when it was in the initial discussion of purchasing the land, redeveloping the land, who the neighbors were. I heard about it again when the second project came to light that was going to need to be part of this. It's going to be good for downtown, ultimately, I believe. It's tricky to finance these projects, especially when there's existing properties on there. It's not easy. I understand that. I can really appreciate that. But I would say more boxes are ticked than when I walked in the door tonight.
Thank you, Jesse. Any other comments? All right, seeing none, we have a motion and a second to approve item number 16. All in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Now I need a motion to approve.
Item 17 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the project boundary for Tax Increment Finance District 2014A.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve for discussion for item number 17.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
Item 18 is a resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the project plan for Tax Increment Finance District 16.
TIF Project 16 was one that came before this body roughly the summer of 2012. It was to look at rent-to-own housing. It would have been about 80 lots of housing that would have been made available through a rent-to-own program where residents lived in them for up to 15 years and then they could acquire them at that point. This site we're looking at has significant challenges, and I'll get to that in a moment. But even if you look there, the railroad is really adjacent to it. The road to the left is Cliff Avenue. Just slightly northwest of here is John Morrell. So we're about 3/4 of a mile east of downtown here. I think for some of you who were on the commission a couple years ago, this will be familiar. If you do want me to elaborate, I'd be happy to do so. Again, just to kind of reiterate what some of the conditions are here, I mean, there's very, very challenging topography, 60-foot grade changes, over the course of that small parcel there. There's going to be a significant amount of dirt work needed there. There's actually a rubble site, a dumping site for several years, so there's a lot of those materials in the site that have to be moved. There are places where bedrock's actually exposed. And then just a kind of a couple other points, it has been an underutilized site. You can look at it there. Development has occurred all around it. And then lastly, it just, given its seclusion, its poor condition, it's overgrown and so forth. I mean, there has been criminal activities occurring in that area as well. So I mentioned the original layout was roughly 80 single-family type housing units that would be rent to own. That project was just never able to get off the ground for a lot of reasons. And we've had developers come forward. Todd Meyer-Henry and Ryan Reitz are principal in this project, and they're here in the audience to answer any questions as well. But this is the layout that they are proposing. They are proposing 3 apartment unit buildings, and I hope this one is very familiar because I know they were here a month or 2 or 3 ago on some rezoning. So this really is the same project that they're looking at. You'd have those 3 apartment buildings on the left half of the project, and then as some of the rest of the project gets flattened out, those would be really just converted to single-family lots for sale. I want to talk about the 2 projects and how the scope has changed. I alluded to the land use, how that has changed, but the original project was going to be estimated at $12 million. Under this new scenario, we're looking at a $20 to $22 million project. And we went from 80 units of housing to 180 units of housing, plus upwards of 40 single-family lots that will be available as well. A couple things changed on the site development costs. I think first and foremost, there were probably some things in the original TIF plan there were some things that were needed to be done that weren't actually included in the original TIF plan. But the other is, as the scope of the project changed, certain things like grading become even more important because you're trying to put a flat apartment building down versus a flat house, and you just have to make sure so much more of your land is graded at that point. We are looking at about $4 million in site preparation costs for the developers to undertake this project, and working with them on their project budget, where incomes are going to be, rental incomes and so forth. Our pro forma is showing that $2.8 million would be an amount where this project really falls flat without some sort of use of TIF to bring it forward. The original approval was $1.85 million, so we're looking at taking it from $1.85 million to $2.8 million. And then wanted to point out, because this district was created in 2012, we're 2.5, almost 3 years into it. We would only have 20 years total, so 17 years left on this TIF district. If we looked at the financial feasibility of how the tax increment would come in, could it support the $2.8 million plus the financing costs? And yes, it could, and we do anticipate that would actually come in a year or 2 or even 3 years shorter than that window. My final slide, just to show you kind of the baseline of how the increment would change the district, or the project would change the district. It's got a value right now of $260,000, estimating taxes paid at $6,000. The assessed value when this project is complete, we're estimating at $12.9 million, so 12.6 would be the increment. That generates roughly, again, these are rounded numbers, but roughly $250,000 in increment. Those would go into the project itself until those expenses are paid, and then those, again, would the project be whole. The taxing entities would continue to receive their dollars going forward. I wanted to point out something. I probably should have done that at the beginning of this presentation, but because it's an amendment, we're not looking at changing the boundary. And if it weren't for the change in the dollar amount, we really wouldn't be looking at the amendment either. So in the packets that you have, really what we're amending is allowing the TIF district to fund up to $2.8 million in improvements as opposed to 1.85. That's all for me.
That's it? All right. Thanks, Brent. Any questions?
Brett? Yeah. If I recall, I think you said this was going to go from a $12 million project to a $20 million project, but the estimated assessed value is 12.6?
Yeah. There's a couple reasons for that. The first is the way the county values property isn't always based on construction value. It's, it's market value, it's replacement cost value sometimes, or even the income approach. So it rarely, where we see an assessment at the county come in dollar for dollar where construction costs are. The second part of that is we always try to be accurate but slightly conservative so that we're not overestimating what a TIF would be. So we're always a little more conservative. It's our true belief that that number, give or take, is going to be kind of how the county would assess it.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. the applicant here.
Todd Meyer, Henry, 315 South Phillips. This, we can't, Ryan would not forgive me if I did not say that this is a Don Dunham legacy project. I was the original attorney on the tax increment, and Ryan was a right-hand man for Don, and what the first project ran into trouble is it was a two-part incentive, tax credits from South Dakota Housing and the original tax increment district, and the tax credits didn't come through that, and Don passed away, and the project stalled out. So it stalled out. Ryan came to me and said, hey, let's pick this project up and see if we can get it finished. The original plan, which had just basically a road that ran through the middle with houses on each side, well, I don't think Don got quite a good bid on what dirt removal would take, and we're going to have to shave off that whole top of the hill. We did do a YouTube video if you want to see it. We can send you we did a flyover so you can see exactly where all the apartments are going to go in the housing. But we're excited about this project for two reasons. The apartment complex, because of its value, is going to be really good for the tax increment district because it will finance the increment. But in addition to that, to do what Don originally started, the 43 lots that are on the high area will do two things. One, it will hook Tracy Lane into the Whittier neighborhood, and that will kind of hook those two neighborhoods together. And two, we plan originally to sell these lots to developers, and we think we're in negotiations to get the first 15 sold immediately. We're going to sell them $20,000 below what market value is. So we're actually going to probably lose, we have on our pro forma $50,000 per year for 10 years on the lot sales, although we'd like to get these lots sold immediately. And our purpose is for one thing, get affordable housing in this area. And so we're going to build under $175,000 homes so people can purchase those. In order to do that, in talking to some folks at the city, they said, you're a developer, you should try to make money. But this project, because of the tax increment incentive, we thought that was very, very important. And our goal is we would love to see this whole neighborhood be done in 5 years. And if that occurs, the tax increment district shortens up, so it's better for the school district, better for the county. With that, that's kind of our pitch, and the good news is this is our last piece of the puzzle that we need to get amended. We have the bank on board, we have the investors on board, so we're kind of excited and hope the Planning Commission amends and the city approves, and if they do, 2016 you'll see a new neighborhood. In the 2025 plan, this is right outside, I want to say it's downtown, but it isn't. Phillips Avenue, or not Phillips, but Cliff is the edge, so we're just kind of wannabe downtowners.
Actually, Franklin is the edge.
Is it?
So,
Well, in one of the plans it had this was, maybe that was a housing
close.
study. The housing study had this as the edge. But we think two groups of people. We hope that the apartment downtown fills up right away. But Morel workers who will be within a half-mile walking distance to Morel's. It is a mile from the East Bank if you wanted to ride your bike there, and it's a mile and 3/4 to 11th and Phillips. So it's relatively, as we say, it's in the first tier outside of downtown, and I think it's the only new apartment which is not going to be tax credited. It's going to have rents below, if this same building was built on the east or the south, it's going to be below those market rents because we're in this neighborhood. But we're excited. We think that this will really add to the downtown area too. With that, I'll open it up.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
You didn't use a drone for your flyover video, did you?
A drone.
But it's new. It's a new and improved drone. It's programmed that it will not fly over 500 feet, and you can't. And I have to download. I can't fly it in Washington D.C. near the White House. But if you'd like, I'd send you the link because it's kind of unique. I used iMovie, and we're real high tech.
All right. Thank you. Anyone else would like to address this item? All right, seeing none, need a motion to approve for discussion?
So move.
Second.
All right, with motion and a second, any discussion?
Madam Chair, I mean, this land has been vacant for a long time. It'll be nice to see something going in there.
It's a challenging parcel. Obviously, that's why we are here hearing this amendment
Well,
tonight.
that's the reason it's been vacant for so long.
Right, exactly. It's pretty steep.
Going to be a great project, and I want to say thank you for going after the affordable housing, because I'm a realtor, and we've had a lot of problems with, prices going up so much because of land that, it's pricing people out of the market. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, and additionally, the Whittier neighborhood is a very well-established. They're organized. They're enthusiastic. They care about their neighborhood. I think as we all do, but they have a really tried and true plan. And they're active, and I think they would welcome new neighbors. I hope they would. And I think it's exciting for the Whittier neighborhood and the schools in that area as well.
All right, thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
We are adjourned.